What's your favorite Dilla work or thing that he's a part of?
Baby by Guilty Simpson off of
Baby.
Yo, I love that record. I just feel like that's something. It's almost something you can play like at the end of the night at a space where there's some heads and people who know hip hop, like because it's almost on some Mac and shit.
Yeah,
you know, and it's not really what the majority of his music was, but you know, Thelonious. I mean, that's pretty much untouchable.
That's where my name comes from.
That's a fact.
Yeah. So, and of course, like
not Sean Longevity.
I gotta go with 𝗏𝗏𝗄𝗧.
But the light, I mean, it's something that actually made it onto the radio and was probably his biggest hit. I mean, it seems simple, but it was a great record, you know, because there had been other people who tried to flip that before and it just didn't work. The way he flipped it with Common on the Like Water for Chocolate album, I mean, the Like Water for Chocolate album was like kind of his, like, okay,
Magnum
this is,
opus.
if you don't know about J Dilla,
now you do.
Go to that record. Or _ because the version on The Shining is different than the one that's on Common's album. I can't remember the name of the album it was on.
Is it like a different verse or is it just
the verses are different? The arrangement's a little changed up a little bit.
A little, but yeah, the verses are
subtly?
Yeah.
But
they almost one kind of refers to the other, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the second one does a little bit. I'll be serious, like super honest. When he passed, I wasn't even being a hip hop head then too. You know, like I wasn't that familiar with him at the time. I was one of those folks that had to kind of go back and be shown shit.
Yeah,
and be like, oh, like I didn't know he did running.
Yeah,
before he passed. You know,
most people didn't.
Yeah, most people didn't.
Yeah. But Won't Do is definitely one of my favorites.
You talk about End of the Night joints.
Yeah. Those are probably my two favorite Dilla joints.
His beat Stop on Donuts is really dope.
Stop and think about
Light Works is dope.
I actually chopped that up.
Upbeat.
But I also loved Fantastic Voyage Volume 2. So Climax.
Fantastic Voyage? Is that what it's called?
Was it? I might be having that wrong. But the one with Climax and Tell Me What You Want.
This is Fantastic Voyage.
Fantastic Voyage.
Fantastic Voyage is Coolio.
Yeah. So I was like,
I
think it's
this shit. Y'all really gonna sit there and Coolio shame my man?
Yeah, Coolio did not work with J Dilla. Not that we know of. You never know.
Dilla definitely ain't produced that.
Man, don't sit here and shame Coolio. Y'all know good and well y'all was riding around listening to Coolio.
Gangsta's Paradise, and there's like one other joint.
Look, when he was with WC,
It Takes a Thief is a dope
WC in the Mad Circle. Come on, let's not act like Coolio didn't have a run.
But
I'm down with the mad ass. You know who? Come on, man.
I have to triple check just because my mind's, you never every once in a while, but I'm pretty sure it's not called Fantastic Voyage.
He did the 𝐁𝐿 and 𝐾𝐿 song.
I was thinking of something else, but
he did the 𝐁𝐿 and 𝐾𝐿 song.
That's true. Yeah,
Coolio. Yeah, it's just fantastic.
No, It Takes a Thief is actually not a bad album at all.
Fantastic Volume 2.
The Fantastic, but
this was pre-Dangerous Minds and Gangster's Paradise. Yeah.
But Dilla, I mean, he had a song with D'Angelo on that record when D'Angelo wasn't doing records with people. He had a song with Corrupt on that record, Forth and Back.
Yeah.
He's got so many records, man, and he's got so many beats. Like, I thought that I knew Dilla beats because I remember back in like 2006 or 7, on torrents, like I found a huge like
Jay Loves Japan. I don't even think that came out.
Well,
it came out, but by the time it came out, I already had it for like a year.
The joints that I had were from beat tapes that he would send people.
Yeah,
and so like I still haven't heard a lot of these beats on anywhere, but even so, like you can go to YouTube and listen to joints. I'm like don't even remember them. I don't even know if I have some. I thought I had a thorough Dilla collection. But to Brad's point, I was kind of, then I'll go to you, Terry, real quick, but I was the same way to an extent. Like, I knew of J Dilla. I was literally learning about him when he died. So when he died, I was like, oh, shit. And I remember I was in a group called 𝗏𝗏𝗄𝗏. It was a hip-hop group. And myself and another dude in the group, 𝗏𝗏𝗄𝗏 𝗢𝗏𝗏𝗧, he knew about Slum Village already, and so he kind of got me hip to game a little bit. But the interesting part about Dilla is that I was a fan of him without even knowing him, because Like Water for Chocolate has been my favorite album since it came out, and still is. And I didn't know he did it. Like, I was one of those people that liked Electric Circus when people were like, this is trash. What is this?
Oh, me too.
And I still like it. And it's one of those things. So I've been a fan of him for a long time. I didn't realize the extent of what he had done until he passed.
Do you think he was at the time? Because when I remember when he did pass, my buddy Will, shouts my man Will 𝗏𝗏𝗧, came up and was like, "Dude, J Dilla passed," and I was like, "Who?" He was like, "Oh, J Dilla, he did da-da-da." But what a lot of people always said, and I just had to be reminded of who J Dilla was. But the Tribe Called Quest stuff is what seems to, like, I think when he first passed is what that's what I recall everybody saying, at least. Oh, he produced for Tribe on that fourth album, I think.
Yeah, he did. He was in the later years with the 𝗏𝗏𝗏 and all that shit. But
Beats Rhyme Life.
I wonder if that's what made him as, like...
Well, the interesting thing about that is people, if you talk to certain people in certain circles, they'll say that Tribe started falling off when Dilla came on.
I've heard people say that.
In my opinion, the beats got better. So, it just is what it is.
That was more of an internal thing, too. Like, if anybody watched the documentary and kind of seen the backstory of what was going on with Tribe, it had nothing to do with the beats. Because, I mean, the way that he chopped and did samples and, like, gave you his pretty much lifeblood through music was different than anybody else was doing it.
I mean, he was working with Q-Tip too,
right?
So it's
Q-Tip worked with him on Amplified after that. Like a lot of Amplified is Dilla. You can hear the Dilla in it.
Did he do
Let's Ride? I want to say that's a Dilla.
Let me look that up.
Who produced?
Yeah, he did that one.
Vibrant thing.
No, that wasn't. That wasn't
Tip.
him.
Did Tip produce that one?
I think that's Tip. The stuff that's really, really repetitive, is typically Q-Tip. That's just his style, kind of. Like,
although his album, The Renaissance, I think he produced a lot of that too.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
I
think he did Move. I love the
he did.
Maja song that he the season. I mean, of course, it was post-mortem, unfortunately, but I always thought that was dope.
And even the shit that he did for Erykah Badu, which was post-mortem, when it actually released.
Didn't You Know was when he was alive.
That was, but like songs.
Did you guys hear the story about that? Yeah, so apparently the story goes, I read, it was somebody wrote it out. I think Talib shared it on Twitter early, like 2008 or 9 or something, or maybe it was something else. I don't know. But the story goes with that is that to work with Dilla, apparently you had to go to Detroit a lot of times. And so Erykah was in Detroit. Watch me be butchering this. House Shoes will see this and like try to, threaten me or some shit. But shouts to House Shoes. But apparently, like, they came there and they just picked a record out, and Dilla just dropped the needle on it, and that was the sample that came up. And he made that beat for Didn't You Know in like 15 minutes.
Wow,
that's incredible.
So
they said he was like could make amazing shit in like 5 minutes.
I mean, he was working up until he had the beat machine in the
literally
hospital.
in the hospital. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I learned a ton more about him after he passed than, unfortunately, than when he was actually around.
And the thing is, like,
but that's just the kind of dude he was, though. He was kind of a low key type guy.
Like my crew in St. Louis, which is once again shout out to Black Spade, my man James Biko. Like, we were kind of like praying at the altar of Dilla then before he died, just because we knew about those beat tapes. And that, like, some people can remember where they were when Pac died or when Big died. I remember exactly where I was when I found out J Dilla had passed away. Like, it